Bang, Neves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife, Kara, is at work, and this is the Viper Odino. It's named after the Norse god Odin. So that's pretty cool. Now, this thing has something unique on it that I have no idea what it is, and I'm hoping one of you guys can help me. I have not been able to figure out what it is, and I'll show you guys here in 1 second. But this knife is damascene steel and titanium. It is an Italian made knife. Now, it's, I guess, in the medium range. The blade length is 2.8 inches, 7.25 overall. So great EDC size, clip point blade, nice big belly on there for, you know, slicing. And it does get down to pretty thin behind the edge. I did not use it or carry it, so I can't really speak on how it cuts or anything, but I would imagine it cuts pretty good. The blade stock thickness is 157 thousandths, 4 millimeters, and behind the edge thickness is about 15 thousandths, a little bit thinner back here, but right in the belly area, so I imagine this thing would slice pretty good. The ergos, you would think they are blocky, but they're really not. It actually is pretty comfortable in me just squeezing it. Now, in use, it could completely change. It might end up becoming a hot spot back here. I really can't say because I did not cut with it. And I also want to thank the person who sent it to me. They know who they are. I really appreciate you letting me check out some of your knives. The action on this thing is incredible. This thing is a vault. The detent is extremely clicky and very strong. Now, the owner said when he first got it, it was insanely strong. But broken in, this thing has really cool acoustics, and the detent is strong in a way that feels very good. It feels really enjoyable to deploy this thing in every way you can, whether it's slow rolling or using the thumb. And it has a lot to do with this lock bar tension. The lock bar tension is really strong. So when it does lock up, it's like a vault. I mean, I've checked it for play and no blade play, no lock rock, but it really locks up solid. And the lock bar, you can easily get to it. It does have a lot of strength, like I said. And then when it closes, the same thing. Like, it really closes. I mean, the detent really sucks that thing back in. The detent ball is very early right there, so you never play around with it. And when you slap it shut, that detent just sucks it right in. Like, it never pops back out or anything. And it's very unique. Like the way it feels, it's very satisfying. That's a better way to say it. And it's easy to reverse flick. You have plenty of access to the hole. The leverage you get is really nice on that hole. It's placed very nicely for your hand to pop it out. So you get a lot of leverage. And when it pops out, it's so smooth. It's very smooth, you know, after it comes out of the detent and then all the way to when it locks up. And when it does, you can really hear it. Same thing with the drop. It's extremely smooth. And it has an over travel stop, so you can't unspring the lock. It does have the lock bar insert. And let's check out that little feature I was talking about that I don't know what it is. It's right there. Now, it's on this side. If it was on this side, I would think it was a lock bar stabilizer, but it's not. I don't know if it's like supposed to be Odin's eye or what it's supposed to be, but it's on this side right here. It's like it looks almost like an eyeball or something. I have no idea what it is. And I tried to watch some videos. I couldn't figure nothing out. I have no clue. But it looks really cool. If any of you guys know what that is, please let me know down in the comments. And so carrying this thing, I did put it in and out of the pocket, and the pocket clip works pretty good. It does have quite a bit of tension. So, you know, it's not really going to tear your pockets up too bad, but you do have to grab your pocket when you're slipping it in and out. But it does have a great amount of tension or it does have a good amount of tension. So, you know, it doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere, but the clip's not very tall. And you see where, you know, this part is. So you really, it's only like this much hanging on, and it's not very deep. You do have quite a bit to grab onto to pull it out of your pocket, but the tension is pretty strong on that clip. So like I said, it doesn't really feel like it's going to tear your pockets up, but like I said, you also have to grab your seam to put it in and out. It's not very smooth. It's more of a strong tension clip, you know, because it's so short. So, you know, not that big of a deal, but and it's not a bad clip. It's not like a great clip. And I did notice some of the other versions are, you know, have a deep carry clip or have a different clip. Now this version is about $420. The other versions I've seen were under $200. So that's a big difference in price. What are you getting in this one versus the other one? The other one's N690 steel, and this one's Damas steel. This one has milling, the other one doesn't. There are carbon fiber versions. I've seen some G10 versions and regular titanium versions. I don't know if this price is really that justified to be that much more expensive because of the Damas steel. Damas steel is made out of RWL 34. N690 is, you know, N690. I don't know. You know, I'd have to feel the other one to really know if there's any differences, at least any other differences. But all in all, I mean, this thing feels like a very expensive knife, 5.5 ounces, and it really doesn't feel like it's that heavy. But you know, the scales aren't milled or anything like that, but it feels like an expensive knife. When you feel it and you deploy it and, you know, you really get it in hand, it feels like a high dollar knife. It really does, especially if you've held a lot of knives, you know, you can really tell where quality, you know, is. Now, there are a couple bad things though, so let's go over them. One, I do not like this choil. The plunge grind is very, well, one, you see where the plunge grind ends right there, so it's right next to the edge. And another thing, this right here, this taper, this line literally right there is thicker right there than it is on the other side of it. So it's kind of weird how they you know, this is pretty thick right here, literally just in this taper. And it's also not perfectly even, as you can see. You see how it's off from one side to the other. So not that big of a deal, but I would rather see a better sharpening choil, because you can only sharpen this a couple times before, you know, it'll start creating a smile. And the detent, or sorry, the lock bar over here closes right there on that spot. So for the closing stop pin. Now the opening stop pin is really nice and big, rock solid, and I love the way it locks up. Very nice and centered. It might need to be adjusted now, but it's been nice and centered this whole time. But still, it'll go right back to centered, I guarantee. It just needs a little tiny turn of the pivot. Now, the next thing is, even though it has great finishing work, everything's finished on it really nicely, but if you look at this back spacer, it's nice and jimped out. The titanium isn't milled all the way through. You see how this side, how it's rounded, and then you have like little chunks in each one. Now that's not gunk, that's actually titanium that wasn't finished. I like how it's blue though, how it's blued out like the titanium scales. Oops. I like how it's blued like the titanium scales, but I just, you know, it's like they didn't take the wire brush to it or something, or they didn't knock off that titanium that's in there, or they just didn't mill it out all the way. Not that big of a deal. Next thing, the clip, like I said, it could be a little bit better. It's, you know, there's nothing wrong with it really, so it's not really a bad, but it could be a little bit more impressive to me, especially at this price. Now, the other thing I've already kind of talked about, I don't know if this is really a justified price. If the other one feels just like this one, I would say buy the other one, you know, because you're saving $200, unless if you really like Damas steel in the milling, then obviously, you know, do what you want. But I just don't know if it's justified an extra $200, over $200 more for the damaged steel and a little bit of milling. And then, like I said, I don't know what this eyeball thing is. I'd like to know. You can see it's numbered, so this is kind of special. If I can get it to come up, you can see made in Italy, and then 67 out of 200. So maybe that's why this one's more expensive, is there's only 200 of them made. So I guess that would bring up the dollars more. But as far as I know, you can still get these. So I don't know. Maybe you can't get this exact one. You can only get the other ones, actually. I'm not positive on that. You'd have to look it up. But I did still see them for sale. It might not have been this damaged steel version. I thought I could, though, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I only seen the titanium ones and the carbon fiber ones for sale. Anyways, the next thing, T6s. It feels like such a tough knife. Everything feels so solid on it. I would have loved to have seen T8s all the way around. Now, there is a T8 on the clip and the pivot, but T6s, I'm not, thrilled about that. It doesn't look like bad hardware, and it is titanium hardware, and sometimes titanium hardware can be on the softer side, but I doubt it is soft. Most likely it's hardened, but I just would rather see T8s. I like the way they milled out this relief cut, and there's so many great things about this knife. Like I said, it really does feel like an expensive knife, and the action is so addicting. The acoustics are amazing. It really fires out when you break that detent. And yeah, I'm really happy to have gotten this in the hand because it is something special. And yeah, I'm glad I experienced it. And I really want to get some more Viper knives because I noticed that, the other Viper, we had the Viper Lily, and that thing had a similar feel to this, kind of like the way it was breaking the detent and how it locked up, and just a bunch of things about it felt very similar. And, I really like that feeling of this knife, same thing with that one. So yeah, I definitely want to get some more Viper knives on the channel. And again, thank you, Bud, for letting me check out your knives. And I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.